Good evening. How's it going, everyone? This is Mike. Welcome back. And I'd like to do a very brief DVD Blu-ray update. And before that, I have a package opening, another one. I did one a couple of days ago, and now I have another one. So this is from a good friend of mine on Facebook and YouTube, a guy named Harry Benson. A really nice guy who's, let's see, what is his screen name on YouTube is Mac of Photos. And Harry, I'll put a link to his channel below. Harry has recently gotten into the spirit of doing videos more often. He's joined with my good friends, our good friends, James Higgins, also known as DVD Collector 1974, and Ian Mountford, who is known as All Things Film, in our project that we're doing called Movies from A to Z. So Harry's joined in on that, and we're very glad to have him. He usually does Harry's from Florida. He usually does his videos parked out in the graveyard. He said he likes to go there because it's peaceful and quiet. So he usually gives us a little shot of the background, and it's a nice, spooky atmosphere. I think Harry spends a lot of his time down there in Florida chasing alligators, or maybe they're chasing him. I'm not sure. Anyway, last week Harry contacted me on Facebook, and he said that he had made a mistake in ordering a film. He didn't realize that he already had a copy, so he asked me if I wanted to have it. So I know what this is, unless he's going to surprise me here. Let's cut this open and show you what I got here. Aha! No bubble wrap. Come on, Harry. Let's see. Nope. This is Kid Brother. Let's see. A silent film, Kid Brother, starring Harold Lloyd. This is really interesting because I have almost zero interest. I mean zero experience of Harold Lloyd. I really like to see a lot of his stuff. I've only seen one movie that Harold Lloyd was in. That was a sound film that he did called Professor Beware, which I think was sometime in the late 1940s. But that's the only thing I've ever seen of Harold Lloyd. So this is going to be great. Thank you so much. This is a Criterion Collection. Oh my God. Blu-ray Special Edition. Loads of extra features. Check that out, man. Lots and lots of extra features. And yeah, so what year is this? Okay, 1927. 82 minutes, black and white, of course. Wow. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Harry. Now, Harry started a group on Facebook called the Film Appreciation Group, and he was nice enough to make me one of the co-administrators along with himself and James and Ian. So it's a very laid-back kind of group. We basically just like to talk about what we're watching on a particular night and invite people to comment, and sometimes it gets kind of snarky and fun back and forth. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to have that. So if anybody would like to check out our group on Facebook, I'll see if I can put a link below. And if I can't manage to do that, you shouldn't have any trouble finding it. Just go to Facebook and search out the Film Appreciation Group, and you should be able to find us. So thanks again, Harry. I appreciate it very much. And let me get to the DVDs, and well, 2 Blu-rays and 1 DVD that I've been watching recently. They're kind of interesting. One is this Dennis Hopper sort of a cult film called The Last Movie, which was released in 1971. Hopper actually, he started it and directed it. He made the film in 1970, and it took about a year to edit it. When he got finished with this, he had something like 40 hours worth of film that he had to whittle down. This release is 108 minutes. And I believe, I was reading somewhere that there was another cut that he had before this, but this is the one that he ended up with. Now, it's interesting because I never saw this film before until I got it last week. And I actually hadn't thought about it in years. I remember back in the day, I remember reading about The Last Movie, because it got a lot of publicity at the time. It was considered this big disaster, and it sort of was Dennis Hopper's last movie as a director for a while, because the studio, Universal, they refused to distribute it, so it disappeared very quickly, and it kind of negated all the success and the status that Dennis Hopper had gotten for Easy Rider, which came out in 1969, and that he had directed that. It was a big, big success, one of my favorite films of all time. So Dennis Hopper put this one together, and all that momentum was pretty much lost, with the last movie. So I hadn't thought about this in years, and one of my YouTube friends, a guy whose channel name is Physical Media for Life, did a video about this a few weeks ago, and I watched it, and it's sort of like a light bulb went on top of my head, thinking, wow, I would love to see the last movie. And I didn't even know if it was available anywhere. Physical Media for Life was saying that he found this deluxe limited edition, which is only in region 2, and he was showing it. It had beautiful box art, beautiful packaging, lots of extra features, poster, all kinds of things. And so since I'm in region 1, I checked out online to see if I could find someplace which had the last movie for sale, even if it was going to be a used copy or something. And I found this company called Arbelos, Arbelos, and they actually had their own limited edition of the last movie, and I decided to just go for the Blu-ray, and instead of having some of the extra features. And I'm very glad that I got this. It's beautiful to look at. The cinematography is gorgeous. The film was made down in Peru, and just beautiful countryside. It's just unbelievable. And they were supposedly, it has the record as being the film that was the highest shot in the world. High meaning high in the mountains, but I think high also applies for another reason as well. Fascinating film. I really don't know what to say about it. I've only watched it all the way through once, and then I watched it about halfway through a second time, and it was hard for me to understand the story, but it's about a group of people from Hollywood down in Peru making a movie. So it's a movie about the making of a movie, and it also has all kinds of references to during the story that make you realize that you're watching a movie or you're seeing a movie being made. It's really interesting, and some of it's very sad, some of it's very funny. Good performances by everyone involved. It has people like Julie Adams, who was a very famous actress for being in The Creature from the Black Lagoon, made a lot of films, and I think this may have been one of the last films that she did. I'm not sure. Beautiful woman. Stella Garcia is in it. Henry Jaglom, the actor turned director, he has a very small part in it. Chris Christopherson is in there doing some of the music. Samuel Fuller, the director. Peter Fonda is in there somewhere. I haven't been able to find him yet. I think he just kind of walks through a scene or something. Tony Basil, the dancer. Michelle Phillips from The Mamas and the Papas, who was briefly married to Dennis Hopper. Anyway, some of the extra features on here, we have a long interview with Dennis Hopper talking about his career later on in his life, long after he had done this. And he talked about his career as he started out in films and some of the things that sort of interfered with his success. And there's another documentary of the people who worked on the film, the people who designed the sets, the writers, and other people who were involved in the film, which I have not watched all the way through. Let's see, they also have, they go back to the village in Peru where it was filmed many, many years later, and they talk about some of the people who remember what it was like to be there when that was going on, because it was such a clash of cultures. Anyway, fascinating film. I'm so glad that I have it, and thanks to my friend Physical Media for Life for putting this into my consciousness. Second film I'd like to talk about, this is Best Friends, starring none other than Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero, who were, of course, the co-stars of the famous cult film The Room. And all these years later, Greg Sestero, after he had had phenomenal success with his book The Disaster Artist, which was made into a film, and so I think he kind of used some of his money from all of that success to make this film. I hope he didn't spend it all, because I don't know how much money this is going to bring back. This is a two-part film. The first part is something like 104 minutes long, and the second part is 94 minutes long, and it's it's a very strange story, which I think Greg Sestero helped to write, and he didn't direct it, neither did Tommy Wiseau. But it's just about, he plays a drifter who comes into L.A. or San Francisco, one of the two, I'm not sure. I think it's San Francisco, and he doesn't seem to come from anywhere. We know nothing about him, and he meets this eccentric mortician named Harvey, played by Tommy Wiseau, who surprisingly gives a much better performance as an actor in this film than he did in The Room. Now, in The Room, Tommy Wiseau was just sort of all over the place, bouncing off the walls. But in this one, he actually does some fairly good acting. Greg Sestero was rather stiff, but the story goes off into some very bizarre directions. And then, strangely enough, even though it gets involved in a lot of violence, especially in the second part, it leads us to this fantastic happy ending, which is kind of unbelievable. But it's absolutely worth checking out if you have any interest at all in the people who made The Room. These two guys who seem to be connected for the rest of their lives. You might have a good time watching this movie, Best Friends, and I think it's only available online. I don't think it's ever going to be, it's been released at some film festivals, but I don't think it's ever going to be released as a general release in theaters. I would be very surprised if it did. The third film I want to talk about is a DVD release from Criterion Collection, Detour, the classic film noir from 1945, which a lot of you already know about. I've talked about this film many times. I've seen it many times. Watched it again in this remastered edition, 4K. It's absolutely beautiful. I love this movie so much. And I went to Barnes & Noble a couple of days ago because I knew it had been released on the, was that the 21st or the 19th it was released, one of those days. And I waited a couple of days because Barnes & Noble doesn't always have these on the first day of release, so it's a little frustrating. But when I went there, I was determined to get the Blu-ray if they had it, but all they had was one DVD, and I didn't want to wait. So, and I'm very glad that I got the DVD. I'm sure the Blu-ray is even more spectacular, but this is terrific. Very nice booklet inside, nice artwork. Where you see Tom Neal, and some really cool extra features, including a very long documentary about the director Edgar G. Ulmer, which is called Edgar G. Ulmer, The Man Off Screen, from 2004, featuring interviews with actress Ann Savage, also filmmakers like Roger Corman, Joe Dante, William Winters. Next, there's an interview with a film scholar, Noah Eisenberg, author of Edgar G. Ulmer, a filmmaker at the margins, and a little bit of an essay about the restoration, and a trailer that was made by Janus Films for the re-release, and of course the essay that we have inside the book here. Very nice to have this, and I would highly recommend this to anybody who wants to know all about film noir, because this in a way is the essence of film noir, and it's almost the perfect film. I love it. So that's it. That's my little bit of an update. Thanks for watching, and comments are welcome.